Hey you guys, it's Rachel here with Senza Tempo Cane Corso. Out here with my babies, and I wanted to do a video for you guys on something that I saw. It's been raining. In fact, it is literally raining right now. It's sprinkling, and I'm trying to get a video for you guys. So, we'll see how this goes. I haven't been able to get a video because it's literally just been nonstop rain, which we need, but simultaneously it's like annoying because it's like we need rain, yes, but we don't need this much rain. It's like we have had no rain, then we get rains, too much rain. It's really annoying. Anyway, okay. Reason why I got upset about what I saw on Facebook is because it's uneducated, it furthers misinformation, and it's heartless. And so anyway, I wanted to talk about it, and I'll give you the gist of what's going on, and then we'll cover it. And I'm going to actually attempt a voiceover today, which is actually something I've never done before, but I'm going to do it. So, basically what happened is I'm on Facebook, and I see this post about a 5-month-old dog that has hip dysplasia, and the breeder is basically asking for advice on whether or not the hips are bad, which they're really bad, and I'll show you that. The puppy literally has no socket at all, and they're trying to basically blame the buyer because they health tested the parents. What you got in your eye? They health tested the parents, and so they have this misconception, which I've seen from a lot of buyers of mine, not like people who have actually purchased from me, but when I get calls and stuff like that, because every now and then I'll have it doesn't happen a whole lot, but coincidentally, funny enough, usually people who spend too much time on Facebook, and they'll contact me and they want to know all about the health testing we do and all this stuff. And I can tell that they're putting way too much stock into the health testing. Now, you guys know we health test our dogs. I'm very open about my health testing, and I'm very open whenever I do produce a dysplastic dog, even if it's one of my own. I don't hide from that. I'm very open about it, but I also don't like for people to think or have this false sense of security that just because I tested the parents that somehow they're going to be fine, because that's not true. And so I'm looking at this post, and this breeder very much believes that. And because they health test the parents, they literally don't even offer a hip guarantee in their warranty. Now, I feel like I'm pretty fair about my hip guarantee. I don't replace anything but severe hip dysplasia, and that's because anything less than severe, the dog can live with it. They have to be kept at a good weight, and their exercise needs to be limited. But it's not a horrible thing. You know what I mean? It's typically one of those things that can be managed environmentally, and the dog is still going to live a pretty natural life, and so it's not worth a replacement. Okay. But anyway, this person does not offer any replacement. They don't even cover hip dysplasia at all because they health test their parents. Now, that's a completely illogical perspective because of the fact that there are studies that have been done that have proven that even if your sole criteria for breeding is excellent hips, you will still produce hip dysplasia. They've proven this beyond a shadow of a doubt. And they proved it with smaller dogs like beagles. So I can only imagine how bad it would be with these large breed dogs like ours. And so anyway, on top of this breeder being misinformed about the realities of breeding dogs and the realities of hip dysplasia, on top of that, there were a lot of breeders in the comment section that were also spreading misinformation, that were also misinformed about it. And many of them were blaming the buyer, which is a really awful thing to do because you can tell from the x-rays that this dog never had a chance. There is no injury that removes the complete hip socket. Okay. And if it was an injury, you would see bone fragments. You know what I mean? There would have to be evidence of what was damaged, which there is none. And as you guys know, I've done it. Like Kubrick had a very similar, it wasn't as bad as this dog, but it was bad. You know what I mean? He absolutely had a hip that was practically out of the socket. And I raised him on a great diet, on everything. Like there's no reason for it to be that bad other than it's just genetic hip dysplasia. It happens. I was honest about it, and I moved the dog on into a home where they knew what was going on, and and he's fine. So the other thing that I saw that was really distressing was breeders who and I'm sure that some of you have heard of this, where they required that you give back the dog that has hip dysplasia in order to get your replacement. And I think that I've always felt that was really heartless. And I thought that it was basically a way of the breeder kind of prevent, like basically they know that most people are going to be too emotionally attached. Come on, you guys. And they're not going to want to, do that. They're not going to want to give away their pet just for another one, right? That's what I was thinking. But I found out through looking that that's not the only reason. There's another reason, and that's because apparently breeders don't want other breeders gossiping about their lines and making rumors about them having hip dysplasia. Now, to me, I just couldn't believe that. Like, first of all, let me be very clear. Nothing, if a breeder is going to gossip about you, nothing under the sun is going to make them not do it. They will make up lies about your dogs. You know what I'm saying? Like they will literally just say that you've done that with no evidence whatsoever. So the idea that you could prevent people from making up lies or gossiping about your dogs is that's dumb. And the idea that you should euthanize an animal so that somebody doesn't gossip about you is pretty awful. Now, mind you, some dogs, like if a dog has both hips that are bad, then okay. Like absolutely that dog probably does need to be put down, but that doesn't mean that it needs to be removed from its family environment to do so. And I commented as such that it was an inhumane thing to do, to remove a dog from its home just to take it and euthanize it. Like I just think that's awful. So anyway, so I wanted to go over this with y'all and just kind of show you guys and show you guys why. Like when I'm open, no. When I'm open and honest about the fact that I produced dysplastic dogs, it's for this reason. I want to end the stigma that people have, that breeders have, about feeling that they have to present this image of perfection, otherwise they're somehow a failure, because it's hurtful. And this is a prime example of that. There are breeders on there, and I only screenshotted one specifically, and I did blur out their name, not because I think I can get in trouble for that. It's posted in a public group. It would be, it's public information. So, but the reason why is because that's not the point, and I don't want people to get misconstrued about the point of what I'm trying to make right now. It's not about them. It specifically, it is something that is common. That's just why that clause is in a lot of people's contracts. And so for me, it's important to try to help educate people and help bring people into a better way of being, to try to encourage people to do that. I don't think I'm in any way perfect. Don't want to pretend to be, but we need to be the change we want to see, right? And that's what I'm trying to do. So when I am honest with you guys about the fact that I produce hip dysplasia from time to time, just like anybody is going to that's breeding, it's because that's the reality of breeding. It is just the reality. And the only thing that we can do, because we're not God and we're not capable of perfection, the only thing we can do is be open and honest about that. It's always a possibility. Therefore, you need to feed good food. You need to keep your dog's weight down. And on top of that, you need to monitor their exercise and make sure that they're not hurting themselves in that regard. And then on top of that, also that sometimes it's just genetic. There's nothing you can do about it. And to set people's expectations right. You know what I mean? For people to be able to accept that and understand it and not get so emotional about it and there's no reason to feel that there's somebody to blame. The blame game needs to stop, whether it be breeders blaming breeders or buyers blaming breeders. There needs to be a more open conversation about this so that we can kind of heal this and dogs don't have to suffer, so that people can pretend to be capable of perfection, which does not exist. Okay. And so that's what I'm trying to do here. Okay. So we're going to go through this post. Okay. So it says here, 5-month-old golden retriever, both mom and dad were OFA good. Hips and pen hip were results significantly better than breed average. Puppy developed a limp, x-rays below. I know positioning isn't great. Dog is obviously subluxed on right. Owner's vet said severe dysplasia. Do you agree? Also, contract doesn't cover hips. We cover cancers, severe genetic stuff, because we do all appropriate health testing for Goldens. We don't cover OFA related stuff because we test them, and the chances of the pup having an OFA issue is less, but obviously not zero. Would you refund the family the cost of the puppy? Now, most breeders that I know of don't refund. We offer replacements, and that's because breeders don't make enough money to refund you the cost of a dog. The amount of money that we have to pay, which is really the truth for most kind of farming situations, is just it's way too high. Like the food costs, the vet costs, the emergency costs are all so high that it is not possible for most breeders to be able to offer refunds. Okay, not to mention it's a messy deal because in order to get a refund, you would have to give back the dog, and once again, it's like, well, you know, I don't want it. You know what I mean? I don't want to take your dog, and you know what I'm saying? Like it's a messy situation. So in my opinion, and what a lot of breeders do is we simply offer a replacement. Now, a lot of breeders require, for example, those of you may remember that I had a dog named, what was his name? War Admiral. And I bought him from a breeder here in America that I'm not going to mention because I'm not trying to start any drama, but that dog had a cleft lip. And so I was owed a replacement for that dog, and that breeder required me to neuter the dog, and then I had to rehome the dog, and I can't remember if I gave him any money out of it or not. I really don't remember. But anyway, I got a replacement for that dog. Okay. But I had to get rid of the dog. I wasn't allowed to keep him. I had to neuter him first. And a lot of breeders will require neutering as well, which I disagree with if the dog has dysplasia, because it really compromises their joint integrity, their muscle integrity even more, and it makes it even harder for the animal to live. So for me personally, I don't like to do that. Come on, you guys, back over here. So let's move to the next. Okay. This is an image of the hips. You can see that on the left-hand side, there is literally no hip socket. So where the ball of the hip joint or of the hip is supposed to go, I think they call it anyway, I can't remember the name of it, but it's like antebellum or whatever it is. But basically the femoral head cannot fit into the socket because there's no socket. Okay. And that is not from an injury, okay? That dog just doesn't have a socket. Now, that does happen. It's a thing. It can happen. And basically, you know, if there was an injury, you would see fragments, right? You would see, like, where is the bone that would have been there, right? I mean, obviously, that's not the owner's fault, okay? And mind you, if and some people say, oh, it's an injury, well, where's the evidence of an injury? You know what I'm saying? Like that doesn't just happen in a vacuum. And if it was from the dog being overweight or whatever, you would most likely see issues on the other side. And like I said, it's not going to cause the entire it wouldn't cause the actual socket to be gone. Okay. So now we have one of the people's comments, right? So she says, when I see a young pup with a decent hip on one side and completely bad on the other side with no muscle mass on the damaged side, I would suspect this pup had a pretty bad injury to cause this. Ligament tears don't allow the sockets to form correctly, so assuming the breeder was careful, it most likely happened from falling from improper play exercise at a young age. So guarantee is dependent upon how much you care about your reputation as a breeder and trust the owner has tried to prevent this from happening. Give a refund and add more info to your contract to allow for them to care for their pups better. That's just completely unscientific. There's absolutely no evidence to support that. I highly doubt that this breeder has been breeding very long. Because I can tell you, after having raised as many dogs that I have and having had hip dysplasia, that you can do everything right and still have really bad hips. And it's just the reality of the situation. But a lot of breeders are hobby breeders. They're people who have a couple dogs. They, I'm going to be real with you. The worst ones are usually the ones that look the best to a potential buyer. They're the ones that they show everything. They don't breed until their dogs are 2-3 years old, after they're already grand champion, bronze champion, all this stuff. And they breed them all the way until they're 6 years old. And what happens is these people don't produce a lot of litters. In fact, they often will brag about the fact that they only ever have like 2 or 3 litters and they don't make any money. And these are the ones that are always talking about how great they are and everything they go into it and and it sounds great. But what I will tell you is that these are very inexperienced people on the scientific breeding side of things, the reality of breeding, because they simply don't have the experience. Okay. I want to give you an example. Let's say that you have 2 doctors, right? Both of them went to college to be doctors. Both of them should be quote unquote equal in that respect. But then you have one doctor who has performed 1,000 surgeries, but you have this other doctor who has performed 6 surgeries. Let's say he's performed 10 surgeries, okay? It doesn't matter if that other one has done a bunch of, like the guy that did 10 surgeries. Well, the reason why is because he's been traveling the world and he's been talking to people and he's been doing all this stuff and blah, 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 blah. The reality of the situation is he has less experience, okay? That's really what it comes down to, less experience. So me, I've had quite a few litters. I don't breed like that. You know what I mean? You guys know that. Like I said, there are 2 different kinds of breeders like that. I don't breed like that. And so that person who doesn't have as many litters, who focuses more on their reputation, is going to think things like that because they don't have the experience to tell them otherwise. Okay. And that's where they come up with that kind of stuff. And they have a lot of theories and blah, blah, blah. But the reality is that that's just not true. So then we've got this other person who I might be way off because no one else has said this, but I would be puzzled how a 5-month-old pup could develop such severe hip one-sided dysplasia without an injury. On the other side of things, though, we breed Goldens, and I tend to operate from the perspective of how I'd want things handled if I was the customer. I'd either rehome pup and provide a puppy replacement or fully refund them if they are committed to providing the medical care the dog needs. Now, my thing is why would you force them to rehome the puppy? Where is your heart? That's my question. Where is your heart for the dog? Like, you claim to be a breeder who they always claim to be passionate about their breed and they love their breed. Then why would you take that dog out of its loving home and give it to somebody else just because this other person needs a replacement? You know what I mean? And that's another thing with these people. They don't breed enough. So for them, it's like, it's a big deal to give away a puppy. For me, it's not. You know what I mean? I am by no means a puppy mill. Believe me, puppy mills have hundreds of dogs. We have completely lost the mark on what a puppy mill is these days. People just going around using the word willy-nilly. But I am by no means a hobby breeder, okay? And that allows me to have the volume to replace a dog when I need to. Okay. And it's not a big deal to me. It's not, I've even offered replacements on things that were not covered in my contract simply because it was just a crap situation and it's really no skin off my back to do it. You know what I mean? I'm trying to do the right thing. I literally replaced a dog that had an obstruction just because the owners were so fantastic. So the reality of the situation is that these people are typically hobby breeders. They only have a couple litters a year. They can't just offer you a replacement like that. So you need to be very mindful of that whenever you're going to buy a dog from somebody, is the kind of breeder that they are. Sometimes what you think is going to be best is not actually going to be the best situation for you. It may look great on paper, but in the long run, it may not work out. And a breeder is only as good as their word. Now, last but not least, we have the reason why breeders will require that you give back that dog. So this breeder here says, agree, very dysplastic, no refund until puppy is returned with replacement. They should return first puppy. This person responded and said, what if the family wants to keep the pup? Don't rip the puppy away from a loving home. Refund, ask them to please keep in touch. And she says, I get it, but you don't want people to talk, and pup could have serious issues later, just my opinion, which definitely the pup is going to have serious issues later. He's already got serious issues. Let's just be honest. And she says, and then this lady said, I'd rather people talk about how sick I was for that pup. Let me see. I'd rather people talk about how sick I was for their pup, refunded the money, and was there for the puppy, but that is me. I hope I read that wrong. And then the lady responded and says, replacement does the same, but no puppy limping around the house for people to start rumors over your bloodline. Now, do you understand how cruel that is? That is unbelievably cruel. This lady would rather kill a dog, rip it from its home first, then kill it, just so that nobody talks about and spreads rumors about her dogs. That to me is insane. Like, I literally can't believe that. I can believe it because nothing surprises me anymore about people, but it's so cruel. And there's two things I want you to think about here. One is how awful it is that this lady cares so much about other people's opinions that she's willing to do that. But two, if you're the kind of person that goes around spreading rumors, you need to think about the fact that your behavior is contributing to the suffering of animals, because people are so afraid of people like you spreading rumors about them that they would rather kill a dog, rip it out of its family's home and kill it, just so that people like you can't say anything about it. And just so y'all know, that's for my haters, because we all know that they watch everything that I post. But all the people that went around talking smack about my dogs, talking smack about me, blah, 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 those are the kind of people that contribute to the suffering of animals, because other people, not me, other people are afraid of that. And they would rather hide anything that happens because, God forbid, rumors get spread about their kennel. Now, you guys know me. I come out in the open about it. I'm very open about it. And I showed you guys studies proving that it's not a line thing. Are there certain lines that have higher amounts of hip dysplasia? Absolutely. You know what I mean? That's not a thing. But just because you produced a dysplastic dog doesn't make you a bad breeder, and it doesn't make the lines bad. Okay? And if you're like me and you're working with a lot of lines, the odds are you're going to see it from time to time. Especially the bigger the breed you work with, the more you're going to see it as well. And so, we all need to think about what we do in life. We need to think about our choices. Now, for me, I've always believed that, as they say, the truth shall set you free. And I'm sure this lady goes under the thing of, they can't handle the truth. You know what I'm saying? I believe you can. Okay, I do. I believe that people can handle the truth. Maybe not about everything, but I definitely believe that people can handle the truth about the fact that breeders are not capable of perfection. And so anytime that you see a breeder and they never show that they have a dysplastic, they've never had any health issues, I promise you that's not true. What you're dealing with is a breeder who's dishonest. Okay? That's what you're dealing with. A breeder that hides any mistakes that they make, which, mind you, I don't even want to claim that that's a mistake that they've made, because it's not that they intend. A mistake is something that you do. And there's nothing that can be done about the fact that hip dysplasia happens. Okay? It just does. It happens. It's not anyone's fault. But my point is that if you see a breeder and they never, ever have anything wrong go on, I promise you they do. They're just not telling you about it. They're just not honest. Me, I'm honest. I put it out there because I want for people to know the truth, and I want for people to be educated on the reality of dogs, of breeding, of breeders, and all of that stuff. You know what I mean? What I can tell you is you can buy from a breeder who tests everything from the rooter to the tutor, and you can end up with a breeder like this, who is heartless, who's not going to replace your dog, who's going to blame you because they did everything. They spent all this money health testing all the parents and grandparents and blah, blah, blah. So it must be your fault. Okay? Or even if they think it is, even if they say, well, you know, it happens, blah, 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 but, you know, you're going to have to give back the dog. It's a heartless thing to do. Okay? So be mindful of that. When you're buying a dog from somebody, you're developing a business relationship with them, and you need to be sure that they're going to be good at that business. So look at the contract, make sure it's something that you agree to, that you're comfortable with. I think that that's a heartless thing to do. I never do that. If I have to replace a dog, you simply get a free dog. That's it. That's it. You simply get another dog. If you're not ready for that dog at that time, that's fine. You have a credit with me. You can get a dog when you're ready for the dog. Okay? And that's just how it works. That's how it should work. In my opinion, that's how it should work. You should not be requiring that people give up their pet that they love just for you to replace the dog. And you shouldn't be breeding so few animals that you can't replace a dog when something happens. That's like be a car dealership only producing so few cars that they can never offer a replacement if they sell a lemon. It just doesn't make any sense. It's bad business. So anyway, I don't know. That's all I got to say about it. But I just thought, I saw that and I was upset. I couldn't believe it. I got up. I just get so, the information is out there. These studies are not even new about hip dysplasia. Preacher. These studies are not even new about hip dysplasia. You know what I mean? This information is out there. If you're going to be in the industry of breeding, you should be educating yourself. You should know about this stuff. So anyway, I'm going to get inside. I'm tired of it drizzling on me, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.